Welcome back. You're watching Prime Property. Consumers fighting their builders over unfulfilled promises have got a huge leg up from the Supreme Court and the Consumer Court. The highest law of the land instructed a well-known builder in the National Capital Region, Ambience, to refund 33 crore rupees or 70% of the maintenance fee it had collected since 2002 for a Gurgaon project, as it had failed to deliver all the amenities it had committed to at the time of purchase. The Supreme Court upheld the verdict of the Consumer Court, and now, depending on the size of their flats, 345 flat owners will be paid anything between 6 lakh rupees and 15 lakh rupees, as Ambience had failed to offer services commensurate with the maintenance fee. As many as 66 residents had gotten together to fight Ambience. These are residents of Ambience Lagoon Apartments, located near the Delhi-Gurgaon border on the NH8 and behind Gurgaon's biggest mall, the Ambience Mall. The 66 residents got together to prove to the courts that Ambience did not provide all the elevators it had promised at the time of allotment, and that the maintenance was also not up to the mark, as the lifts were too slow and prone to frequent breakdowns. Lawyers say this is a landmark verdict empowering consumers.
This is quite a path-breaking judgment that has come from NCDRC, in which the Supreme Court has refused to intervene. Here the builder has been asked to refund a certain portion, significant portion of the maintenance charges that he has been charging from the occupants of the flats. So, and it has a pretty retrospective effect. So it's since 2002 that they've asked them. So from a deficiency in service perspective, this is quite path-breaking.
Is it path-breaking because the judgment has a retrospective effect, or is it path-breaking because the judgment finds the builder guilty of being deficient in services rendered?
Path-breaking in the sense that it's for the first time that under Consumer Protection Act, a service that is being rendered by a builder is being seen as a serious service that he is rendering to the occupants of the premises that he constructs, and that there is a significant deficiency there, so there can be a significant penalty following it.
So has a precedent now been created for all those flat owners that are fighting their builders for not providing all the amenities that had been promised, or for poor maintenance?
In a way, yes, it is some sort of precedent that actually gets created here. But what you have to look into in this particular dispute is that it was a persistent effort by the consumer group. They formed a group, and against a pretty reputed builder, they have been persistently following up their case. So somewhere this consumer movement has to start to put things in perspective. They have to assert their rights. They have to keep persistently following it till such time that regulator actually comes in place, where they can then significantly step in and do some course correction in the market.
And will this judgment have a pan-India impact, or is it only for Gurgaon and Haryana? The reason I'm asking you this is because every state has its own Apartment Act.
Effectively, pan-India, this judgment can be cited because this is a judgment by the NCDRC, that is National Consumer Dispute Resolution Forum. So all the consumer forums across the length and breadth of the country actually have to toe the line of the judgment given here. And more importantly, the maintenance of the group housing societies, though all states have different apartment ownership acts, but effectively everywhere it is consumer which has been empowered to take over the maintenance and appoint the maintenance agency to run the whole project. In this particular case, it was actually given back to a certain agency which was not providing it. So as far as the application of this judgment is concerned, it is pan-India.
So the big message seems to be that consumers are now more empowered after this judgment, that flat owners have a leg to stand on if they want to fight their builder for poor maintenance or not providing all the amenities that had been promised.
Oh, definitely. I mean, with this court case, now the consumers definitely can go to the, they form a group like the way in this particular case they have done, and they can press for the deficiency in services that has been offered by the that is there by the service provider.
In this particular instance, we saw 66 residents come together to fight Ambience. For all the consumers that want to perhaps move court against their builder for poor maintenance or not getting all the amenities that had been promised, what are all the legal steps that they need to take?
Sure. So first step will be to have the RW in place, or the society of the consumers in place, or the unit holders in place. That society should have an elected body to represent them, and that elected body can go to the consumer forum citing all the deficiencies that is there in the service and maintenance. One step can be they can completely push for having their own say in appointing the maintenance agency, and which definitely that is what the law provides for. At times consumers are slightly hesitant in taking that step because they are not very sure of whether they will be able to manage it themselves or not. But that is the extent that they can take their petition to.
And what's your hunch? Do you think post this judgment we'll see the builders becoming more cautious, actually fulfilling their promises? Could that be an immediate impact?
Immediate impact, well, given the fractured real estate market that we have in this country, I don't think it will have a immediate effect. But repeated judgments of this sort and repeated litigation of this sort, repeated precedents of this sort, yes, I mean slowly the market will actually perceive the risk, and the developers will perceive the risk in falling short of the promised delivery.
Now let's head to Bangalore. India's IT capital is expected to lead the recovery of the country's property market. International property consultant Knight Frank says Bangalore, out of the top 6 cities, has recorded the highest price appreciation in the first half of 2014. Sale volumes have accelerated 26% year-on-year in the same period. Jumping into the high-margin luxury housing market is certainly tempting Bangalore's developers, but they're wiser for having made that very mistake in the last decade. Purnima Muldi reports developers in Bangalore continue to focus on affordable housing, at least for now.
Wellworth City, the first affordable housing project launched by well-known developer Puravankara in Bangalore. This housing project is just 20 kilometers away from Bangalore International Airport, and it takes about an hour to come here from the city centre. This 500 crore rupee Wellworth City project is spread across 44 acres and houses 3,360 apartments in all. Puravankara says it's satisfied by the response to this project. Nearly 80% or more than 2,800 flats have already been sold. An IT park may come up nearby, and that may improve the future prospects of Puravankara's Wellworth City. With no clear definition, affordable housing is a very subjective concept. Puravankara has priced apartments at its Wellworth City project between 36 and 43 lakh rupees at an average price of 3,045 rupees per square foot. We leave it to you to decide if an average price of 3,000 rupees per square foot is indeed affordable. Here's Puravankara's take.
The USP really of Provident and most of our projects really is, you still get all the amenities that a luxury housing project would offer you. Along with that, even in terms of finishes are very good. The only thing that we really tweaked is the design and ensured that the ticket size is affordable. The journey so far has been very good, very encouraging.
Puravankara sells its affordable housing projects under the Provident brand name. It has totally launched 13,000 such units between Bangalore, Chennai and Coimbatore. And don't think this is a low-margin business for the developer, as it is able to clock a healthy 35% EBITDA margin from such offerings.
As a business, it's been profitable. We've had EBITDA margins of 35 to 40%. So therefore quite encouraging, and going forward we will continue to launch large projects under this brand. In terms of a launch pipeline that we see for Provident over the next 12 to 15 months is about 10.5 million square feet. These are launches of about 5 projects spread across Bangalore and Hyderabad for now.
Puravankara certainly is not the only one catering to this segment in Bangalore. Here are some other affordable projects. Value and Budget Housing Corporation has launched one project near Electronic City. A 620 square feet apartment carries a price tag of about 20 lakhs. And near Electronic City, another developer, Commune Properties, a subsidiary of Golden Gate Properties, is selling 1,030 square feet at just 24 lakhs. And 7 kilometers from the airport, Pashmina Developers is selling a 2 BHK flat for 30 lakhs. All of these projects are being sold at a time Bangalore is making waves for leading the recovery of India's property market. Knight Frank recently said sales volumes in Bangalore's housing market had jumped by 26% year-on-year in the first half of 2014. The international property consultant also said that out of the top 6 cities, Bangalore has recorded the highest price appreciation, that is 11% year-on-year in the first 6 months of 2014. Many other developers, meanwhile, are busy drawing up plans for affordable housing as they are enthused by the Modi government's promise of housing for all by 2020 and the recent impetus provided by the Reserve Bank via cheaper credit for low-cost housing. A classic example of that is Tata Group's Tata Value Homes. The company plans to launch one of its projects in the heart of Bangalore and not in the suburb, which is a common practice. But it's not all hunky-dory. The government needs to do a lot more to ensure builders start offering low-cost homes.
There is a huge mismatch between the demand and supply in the value housing as we refer it to. For the simple reason developers are not getting attracted to the value housing for the simple reason that there's enough of regulatory delays in getting approvals which delays projects. And more say from the perspective of cost of construction are spiraling. I think major industrial areas and hubs in and around the city are still a big attraction to people who want to live in the periphery of the city.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Prime Property. Do remember, you can always email us your feedback, send your property queries, or even experiences with builders that you may want to share. Our email address is primeproperty@network18online.com. You can also tweet me. See you same time next week.